Video opens with a close-up, slow-motion shot of golden honey being drizzled onto a tasting spoon. The lighting is warm and inviting. Subtle, ambient sounds of a quiet lab. What if your tongue was your most valuable asset? Not for what it says, but for what it senses. For a select few, this is reality. They are the guardians of flavor, the architects of taste, the professional tasters whose palates are so finely tuned they can detect the ghost of a single ingredient in a sea of 1,000. This isn't just about liking food. This is a hidden world of sensory science, where a single sip can tell a story, solve a mystery, or be worth millions of dollars. Scene shifts to a sterile, modern lab. A line of identical, numbered cups is arranged on a white table. A person in a lab coat methodically lifts one, swirls it, and takes a small, deliberate sip. They are focused, their expression intense. So, how does one embark on this remarkable career path? It begins not with a gift, but with dedication. Aspiring tasters undertake rigorous training, systematically exposing their palates to an encyclopedic library of flavors. They learn to deconstruct every sensation, building a mental catalog of thousands of individual notes, from the buttery richness of a specific nut to the faint, earthy aroma of a particular soil. This journey transforms an ordinary sense into an extraordinary instrument, capable of discerning subtleties that most of us would miss entirely. It's a discipline built on repetition, memory, and an unwavering curiosity for the chemistry of flavor. Split screen. On one side, someone is blindfolded, tasting coffee from a small bowl with a spoon. On the other, a different taster spits a sample of red wine into a spittoon. The movements are precise and practiced. A day in the life of a professional taster is a marathon of the senses. Imagine sitting in a silent, sterile room, facing a lineup of dozens, sometimes hundreds, of anonymous samples. The work is often done blind to eliminate any bias from packaging or branding. Each sample is sipped, swirled, and savored but rarely swallowed. The goal is analysis, not consumption. They meticulously evaluate each product against a strict set of criteria, identifying characteristics like acidity, bitterness, aroma, and mouthfeel. It is a demanding, isolating process that requires immense concentration to keep the palate sharp from the first sample to the 100th. An animated graphic of the human tongue appears. The old, segmented tongue map with sweet at the tip and bitter at the back is shown, then a red X crosses it out. It dissolves into a more accurate, modern representation showing taste buds distributed all over. For centuries, we believed in a simple tongue map, the idea that specific zones of the tongue were responsible for sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. But modern sensory science has revealed a far more complex and fascinating reality. That map is a myth. In truth, all of our taste buds, which are scattered across the entire tongue, can detect all 5 basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and the savory, meaty taste known as umami. The real magic happens when these signals travel to the brain, combining with information from our sense of smell to create the rich, nuanced perception we call flavor. It's a neurological symphony, and these professionals are its most astute conductors. Quick, elegant cuts showing different tasting professions, a hand holding a wine glass up to the light, a close-up of coffee beans being inspected, a pet food pellet being crumbled and sniffed, a clear glass of water being swirled. The world of professional tasting is surprisingly diverse, extending far beyond the familiar realms of wine and food. There are water sommeliers who can distinguish between mineral waters based on their terroir and dissolved solids, describing one as silky and another as having a flinty finish. There are coffee cuppers and tea tasters who can pinpoint a single estate origin from one sip. Whiskey blenders marry spirits from different casks to achieve a perfectly consistent flavor profile year after year. More unusually, there are pet food tasters, yes, human tasters who ensure palatability for our furry friends, and even highly trained panels for pharmaceutical companies, tasked with making bitter medicines more tolerable. Each field has its own rituals, its own language, and its own masters. A shot of a taster writing detailed notes in a journal. The camera focuses on specific, descriptive words they've written: leathery, notes of damp earth, lingering citrus finish. How do they translate these fleeting sensations into concrete data? With a specialized and incredibly precise vocabulary. To a taster, a strawberry isn't just sweet. It might be jammy, with notes of green pine and a subtle floral aroma. A cheese might not just be sharp, but have crystalline textures, barnyard funk, and a nutty, lingering finish. The shared lexicon allows them to communicate complex flavor profiles with scientific accuracy, removing subjective preference from the equation. They rate intensity on numerical scales and plot their findings on charts, transforming a deeply personal experience into objective, actionable information for product developers and quality control teams. A DNA double helix graphic animates on screen, with specific genes highlighted. It transitions to a shot showing a person's tongue with a blue food dye, revealing a dense field of pink fungiform papillae, next to another tongue with far fewer. Are these individuals simply born with a better sense of taste? The answer lies partly in our genes. Some people are supertasters, a term coined by experimental psychologist Dr. Linda Bartoshik. Due to a variation in the TAS2R38 gene, supertasters have a much higher density of fungiform papillae, the bumps on the tongue that house our taste buds. This makes them experience taste, especially bitterness, with far greater intensity than the average person. While about 25% of the population are supertasters, and another 25% are non-tasters, most of us fall somewhere in the middle. But genetics are only part of the story. It's the relentless training that hones this innate sensitivity into a professional skill. Archival-style footage, a vintage Coca-Cola bottling plant. Then a modern shot of a pristine, high-tech lab with a single taster sampling from a beaker. A shot of the French Alps, followed by a close-up of a clear bottle of Evian water being poured. The stakes in this profession can be immense. Consider the anonymous tasters who safeguard the legendary formula for Coca-Cola. Their palates are the final line of defense, ensuring that every batch produced anywhere in the world matches the secret recipe perfectly. At the source of Evian in the French Alps, a panel of experts tastes the water multiple times a day, guaranteeing its purity and consistent mineral balance, a taste shaped by a 15-year journey through glacial rock. And within the hallowed halls of luxury chocolate companies like Valrhona, master tasters sample cacao from across the globe, searching for the perfect beans to create their next Grand Cru chocolate bar. These are not just jobs, they are positions of sacred trust. A taster looks weary, gently massaging their temples. Close up on a warning label on a chemical container. A dramatic shot of an insurance document with a large sum, $10 million, visible, with an illustration of a tongue next to it. But this unique career is not without its risks. The greatest professional hazard is palate fatigue, a state where the senses become overwhelmed and desensitized after repeated tasting, rendering further analysis impossible. Tasters must take frequent breaks, cleansing their palate with water and unsalted crackers to maintain their acuity. For those working with raw ingredients or in flavor creation, there can be exposure to concentrated chemicals and allergens. And when a palate is responsible for a multi-billion-dollar brand, it becomes an insurable asset. Famously, food critic Egon Rane had his tongue insured for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And top tasters for coffee or wine brands have been known to have their sensory abilities insured for millions. A colorful, intricate flavor wheel for coffee spins slowly on screen, filled with hundreds of descriptive terms like apricot, cedar, molasses, and jasmine. The camera then pulls back to show a taster, eyes closed, appearing to access a memory. To manage this vast sensory data, tasters rely on powerful mnemonic tools. The most iconic of these is the flavor wheel. Developed for industries like wine, coffee, and cheese, these wheels are hierarchical charts that break down flavors from the general to the hyper-specific. A fruity note might branch into citrus, which then specifies grapefruit, lime, or yuzu. Tasters train by associating these abstract terms with real-world sensory memories. The smell of a leather-bound book, the taste of a sun-ripened raspberry, the scent of freshly cut grass after a rainstorm. The mind becomes a library of experiences, a database of taste and smell they can access in an instant. Final sequence of beautiful, slow-motion shots, steam rising from a teacup, drops of olive oil falling into a dish, a sommelier carefully decanting wine. The lighting is golden and warm, creating a sense of reverence and wonder. The mood is calm and appreciative. In a world that moves faster every day, the professional taster reminds us of the power of slowing down. They teach us that a single bite can contain a universe of information about geography, chemistry, and craftsmanship. Their work, conducted in quiet rooms and sterile labs, shapes the flavors of our daily lives in ways we may never fully appreciate. They are the silent poets of the palate, the unsung heroes of the sensory world, forever chasing that perfect, elusive note. And through their dedication, they reveal a profound truth, that to truly taste is to truly pay attention.